In the good old days, can I say, if you had a barking dog next door to you, you could go to the neighbour and say, your dog barks. And the neighbour would be extraordinarily apologetic and say, oh, sorry about that. Yes. And then the neighbour would do one of two things. It would either train the dog not to bark, or it would come to some sort of arrangement, maybe with the neighbour, that if they were going to work, listen, do you mind just sort of, especially if you're tired, popping over and just saying, I think you might be going to say, no, yeah, sure, feed him these treats and stuff like that. And you know, it was a communal dog. Well, there goes the neighbourhood. I'm going to introduce you to my Friday, odd story of the week. But you know what? It says an awful lot about two things. One, the state of environment, the state of neighbourhoods. Two, local government in general, I would argue. And three, how the media decide to embellish and create these sorts of stories. Welcome to the show. First of all, before I even introduce this topic, the Chief Executive Officer, who's on his way to a very important meeting, but he's got time to spend with us, Hamish Riach from the Ashburton District Council. Hamish, how are you this morning?
I'm well, thank you, and you?
I'm frisky, but don't ask again that question just quietly, otherwise it could be embarrassing.
The coffee's working, clearly.
I haven't even touched the coffee yet. That's how bad things could be. It's the tea this morning. It was just out of this world. Anyhow, Hamish, you are the Chief Executive of the Ashburton District Council. I've just been reading a story that's all through the media at the moment, how your council is terrorising some poor pensioner who's 70-something, and you won't do anything about her barking dog that next door for the neighbour who goes to work, leaves his dog there, barks apparently all day. Your council staff have been there, and I didn't believe it, but it's in the paper, so I don't know if I can believe it or not. You'll tell me. Over 70 times to go to this place, and it's still not resolved. Can you tell me what the problem is?
I can, and that's your introduction is largely true. So we have a dog that's allegedly barking and howling, upsetting the neighbour. She is distressed by that, complains about the barking dog. I think she has tried to talk to the neighbour. So to your point around communities dealing with issues, that I think has been tried, but hasn't resolved the issue in this case. So she's complained to us on many occasions, and we have responded in good faith to those complaints each time. But each time we have gone there, and as you say, over 75 times, and at all hours of the day and night, I could add, and we haven't found the dog to be behaving in the way the complainant alleges. So we can't then do anything because there's no independent verification of the dog's behaviour, and that drives the complainant mad, of course, and we continue to say, yes, but council can only act if we can, verify what you claim is happening, which we haven't been able to do. So everyone dissatisfied. And the problem. And
now it made the national media. Listen, the other thing, Hamish, I've been a mayor. I don't know if you're aware, but I've been a mayor, and one of the things that I first struck, I've got to be honest with you, was barking dogs, loud neighbours, and those sorts of things. We came up with a really good solution, but one of the things I didn't realise BIK became mayor, but I think you guys do it in Ashburton as well, is that you contract out your services, particularly your after-hour call-out services, and particularly around barking dogs, to security companies. Do you do that as well?
Yes, we do, and it's the same contractor that handles all sorts of noise complaints. So, it might be a late-night loud party. It's the same contractor that we engage to do that. And in this case, the contractor has responded to complaints on many occasions, but so too have our own staff, because we do actually have someone supervising that contract, our animal control officer. So they too have been out to the property and spoken to the parties, etc. So it's a combination of staff and contractor in this case.
Christine Sanderson is the complainant's name. She's in her 70s. She's taken a photo of the dog. It's a lovely looking dog. It's a staffy, but it's all by itself all day. It would be reasonable to assume, wouldn't it, that a staffy in a confined place would actually bark if its neighbour if its owner's not there?
Yes, we're not claiming that it isn't barking from time to time. In fact, most dogs do bark from time to time.
Yeah, they do. Mine too.
But if we're going to take regulatory action, then we need to verify the dog's behaviour, and that's what we have been unable to do.
Now, there was a solution given to you, and I'm really interested in this one. This technology was just coming into Wanganui when I was leaving, but I like it. You can put a recording device that is able to record. We would later use it not just for dogs, but also particularly for noisy parties and abuse and stuff like that. You, as I understand, you've got access to that technology, yeah, where you can actually put something up high up. It can record everything that goes on, and therefore you'd be able to know whether or not this is all some hito-pressed imagination from an old lady or this is a serious concern, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. We don't actually have such a device ourselves, so I thought it was a good idea when Christine suggested it. We actually reached out to our friends at the Christchurch City and managed to borrow the device. But it needs to be on the property where the dog is.
Does it? Because the noise is experienced by her next door. Now she's right next door to this property. That's why wouldn't it be on her property? Because that's where the grievance is being felt.
Yes, because we have to be really sure that whatever evidence we get is directly related to that particular dog. So a number of times, for example, that we get dog complaints, and this will be true for every council in New Zealand, we get the dog complaints and someone might allege that it's a particular dog over a particular fence, and we go out and we can certainly hear dogs barking, but it isn't the particular dog being complained of. So in order to be really satisfied, if we're going to take some further regulatory action, we need to be really clear that the evidence is related to a particular dog. So
again, I would have thought that was pretty simple too, Hamish, because if, for example, in this particular case, just to explain to listeners, the houses are right next door to each other and the dog is, I'm looking at my next door neighbour's fence, probably about 5 metres away from me now as I talk to you. Yeah. And that's about how far the dog is it is confined to the bedroom of this complainant. I would have thought that was a really easy thing to do, Hamish, was to work out that it had to be that dog.
I understand. The context for us, though, is all the visits we have made when the dog hasn't been behaving as alleged. So we want to be really sure. We want to be really clear. And if we're going to...
But does that mean you have to go back another 75 times?
No. What I'm trying to say is that despite Christine's complaints, we have never found directly, we've never been able to corroborate those things.